They built it to dominate, but the world wasn't ready. A Ferrari so rare, so misunderstood, that only 32 were ever made. It was denied by racing authorities, shunned by the road, yet crowned a legend at Le Mans. This is the story of the Ferrari 250 LM, one of the most elusive and powerful classic Ferraris ever created. The year was 1963. Ferrari was at the top of the motorsport world, yet a storm was brewing. The front-engine GT era, cars like the 250 GTO, beloved for their beauty and success, was fading fast. Across Europe, rivals had embraced the future. Mid-engined racing machines that could corner harder, stay planted at speed, and dominate on endurance circuits. Ferrari, ever the proud innovator, could not risk being left behind. And so, the Ferrari 250 LM was born. The LM stood for Le Mans, and the car carried that mission in its DNA. Designed to bridge the gap between a road-going Gran Turismo and a full race prototype, the 250 LM represented Enzo Ferrari's bold gamble. Build a car that wealthy private clients could buy, yet also race and win at the highest levels of endurance racing. The foundation came from the Ferrari 250p prototype, an open-top racer that had already proven the mid-engine concept for the Scuderia. But the LM went further. This was no open prototype. This was a Berlinetta coupe with a roof and flowing lines sculpted by Scaglietti, echoing the elegance of Ferrari's GT tradition while hiding something far more radical beneath. For the engineers, the vision was clear. Combine the balance of a mid-engine layout with the ferocity of Ferrari's Colombo V12. Place the driver almost on top of the front axle, shove the power plant behind his shoulders, and wrap it all in a lightweight aluminum skin. The result? A car that looked sleek and compact, yet was packed with raw aggression. But if Ferrari's ambition was bold, the reality was harsh. To compete in the coveted GT class, the FIA demanded that 100 cars be produced, proof that it was a true production vehicle, not a thinly veiled prototype. Ferrari, with limited resources and a focus on performance over volume, built only 32 units. That shortfall sealed the LM's fate. The FIA refused to recognize it as a GT. Instead, it was thrown into the prototype class, forced to battle machines that were far more radical and uncompromised. This rejection was a crushing blow. Ferrari had envisioned the 250 LM as the successor to the 250 GTO, a car private owners could buy, race, and triumph with. Instead, it became a kind of outsider, a rebel without a home. Too extreme for the streets, too rare to be considered a GT, and yet now facing the fiercest prototypes in the world. And make no mistake, the 250 LM was extreme. Inside the cockpit, there was no luxury, no refinement. The cabin was hot, cramped, and brutally functional. Pedal placement was awkward, forcing drivers into contorted positions. Heat from the massive V12 baked the interior, making long stints an endurance test for the driver as much as for the car. Visibility was poor, especially out the rear. It was a machine that demanded respect, a car that fought you, even as it thrilled you. Still, for Ferrari's chosen audience, wealthy privateer teams and collectors with a hunger for speed, none of that mattered. The allure of owning a Ferrari that looked like a GT but drove like a prototype was irresistible. With its short, wide stance and futuristic silhouette, the 250 LM radiated menace. Onlookers knew, just by seeing it, that this was not a car meant for Sunday drives. It was born for the track, born for war. And so, the 250 LM entered history as a paradox. It was meant to be Ferrari's next great GT, but instead it became something far more interesting. A rebel Ferrari, one that refused to fit neatly into the categories of its time. A car conceived to play by the rules, yet destined to break them. When you lift the skin of the Ferrari 250 LM, you discover not just a car, but a piece of racing engineering sculpture. At its core lies the same beating heart that defined an entire era of Ferrari dominance, the legendary Colombo-designed V12 engine. Now, don't let the 250 name fool you. Ferrari had a habit of naming its cars after the displacement of a single cylinder. That meant 250 cubic centimeters per cylinder, which added up to just under 3.0 liters. But the truth is, most 250 LMs weren't 3.0-liter cars at all. Very quickly, Ferrari enlarged the engine to 3.3 liters, giving the LM the lungs it needed to battle for endurance glory. Some people argue it should have been called the 275 LM, but Ferrari stuck with the 250 badge, keeping tradition alive. This V12 was a masterpiece. 12 cylinders arranged at a 60-degree angle, breathing through a bank of Weber carburetors, fed by a dry sump lubrication system for maximum reliability in long-distance racing. It produced a raw, feral 320 horsepower at 7,500 RPM, numbers that, in the early 1960s, were absolutely staggering. And it didn't just make power, it sang. The high-pitched wail of the Colombo V12 at full throttle was a sound that sent shivers through grandstands and pit lanes across Europe. But horsepower is only half the story. The 250 LM was incredibly light, weighing just around 820 kilograms. That gave it a razor-sharp power-to-weight ratio, allowing it to surge to nearly 180 miles per hour, speeds that put it on par with the deadliest prototypes of its day. Imagine, in 1964, a closed-top Ferrari storming down the Mulsanne Straight at Le Mans, devouring mile after mile with a mix of elegance and fury. The chassis that held this beast together was equally advanced. Ferrari used a tubular space frame, stiff yet light, designed to keep the car nimble through the endless corners of endurance circuits. The body, crafted in aluminum by Carrozzeria Scaglietti, draped over the frame with flowing curves that weren't just beautiful, they were functional. Its low roofline, short wheelbase, and wide stance gave it balance and aerodynamics rare for the time.
The mechanical package was pure racing technology. Independent suspension at all four corners, double wishbones, coil springs, and telescopic dampers gave it poise in high-speed corners. Four-wheel disc brakes provided stopping power that was ahead of most competitors. And the 5-speed manual gearbox with closely stacked ratios kept the V12 screaming in its power band. But this wasn't an easy machine to tame. Its mid-engine layout gave it sharp reflexes but also demanded total respect. Drivers spoke of its nervousness at the limit, of a car that could punish mistakes as quickly as it rewarded skill. This was not the forgiving elegance of a front-engine 250 GTO. This was something new, something more aggressive. And then came the quirks, details that make the 250 LM legendary today. The cockpit was brutally functional. There was no insulation, no comfort. Heat from the V12 roasted the cabin. The pedal box was awkwardly offset, forcing some drivers into uncomfortable positions, especially in right-hand drive cars where the accelerator sat at a strange angle. It was a test not only of mechanical endurance, but of human endurance too. Still, those willing to climb inside and wrestle with it discovered something magical. Behind the wheel, the 250 LM felt alive, twitching under throttle, growling at idle, howling at redline. It was a car that blurred the line between man and machine. To drive it wasn't simply to operate a Ferrari. It was to step into a racing prototype disguised as a GT, to sit at the frontier of what was mechanically possible in the 1960s.
Every element of the 250 LM spoke of a singular purpose: speed. It wasn't built to be comfortable. It wasn't built to be practical. It was built to conquer. And in that mission, every nut, every bolt, every scream of the V12 served a purpose. The heart of the beast wasn't just its V12, it was the sum of its contradictions. Beautiful yet brutal, compact yet explosive. A Ferrari that looked like a road car, but behaved like a predator bred for the racetrack. And this tension between GT elegance and prototype savagery is what made the 250 LM one of the most fascinating machines in Ferrari history. The Ferrari 250 LM was never supposed to be an underdog. When Enzo Ferrari unveiled it, the dream was for it to dominate the GT class, following in the footsteps of the 250 GTO. But reality didn't play along. With only 32 cars built, the FIA refused to recognize it as a true GT. That decision forced the 250LM to race as a prototype against purpose-built machines that were often faster, lighter, and more advanced. For a time, the LM struggled to find its footing. It was too raw for the street, too few in number for GT, and now facing legends of the prototype category. To many, it seemed destined to be a lost Ferrari, admired for its beauty, but never able to fulfill its destiny. And then came 1965. The stage was the 24 Hours of Le Mans, the most grueling endurance race in the world. Ferrari's factory team focused on newer prototypes, leaving the 250LM largely in the hands of privateer teams. One of those was Luigi Cinetti's North American racing team, better known as NART. Their entry, chassis number 5893, would carry two drivers, the young Austrian Jochen Rindt and the experienced American Maston Gregory. What unfolded was the stuff of legend. Against all odds, the NART Ferrari outlasted everything the race threw at it. Mechanical attrition, punishing speed, and the brutal 24-hour grind, the LM endured. By the time the checkered flag waved, the Ferrari 250LM had taken overall victory at Le Mans. It wasn't just a win, it was historic. That 1965 triumph marked the last time Ferrari ever won Le Mans outright. Even today, that fact gives the 250LM a near-mythical aura among Ferrari fans. It proved that, despite being shunned from the GT class, despite being the outsider, the LM could conquer the ultimate stage. From that moment, the underdog became immortal. The car once dismissed as an odd hybrid, too radical to be a GT, not advanced enough for a prototype, suddenly became the very symbol of Ferrari's resilience and brilliance. But the 250LM story didn't end on the racetrack. In the decades that followed, as Ferrari's racing heritage became more revered, collectors began to chase these cars with unmatched passion. With only 32 built, each one carried a pedigree of rarity. Those with genuine racing history, especially Le Mans entrants, became some of the most valuable Ferraris in the world. Today, the 250LM sits among the holy grails of Ferrari classics, right alongside the 250 GTO and the Testarossa. Auction houses treat them like crown jewels. One example, the very car that won Le Mans in 1965 was sold for an astonishing $36.2 million. Even ordinary LMs, if such a term even applies, can command values of $17 to $25 million, depending on condition, provenance, and originality. For enthusiasts, owning a Ferrari 250LM isn't just about possession, it's about holding a piece of racing immortality. Provenance is everything. Matching numbers cars with unbroken documentation are priceless. Any hint of factory racing history adds millions. Maintenance is no simple affair either. These are complex prototypes requiring specialized care, rare parts, and world-class craftsmanship. And yet, that hasn't stopped collectors from chasing them. Quite the opposite. The 250LM is coveted precisely because it represents Ferrari at its most rebellious. A car that was built for glory, rejected by the system, but ultimately victorious on its own terms. Even its quirks add to its legend. The cockpit heat, the odd pedal placement, the fact that it bore the 250 name while most examples had a 3.3-liter engine. These are not flaws, they are the scars of a warrior, reminders that this was never a comfortable GT cruiser. It was, and always will be, a racing machine. And that's why the Ferrari 250LM has ascended into the pantheon of classic cars. It may not have the production numbers of the GTO or the long list of championships of other Ferraris, but it has something rarer. A story of resilience, a story of a car that didn't fit but still found a way to triumph. Legends like the Ferrari 250LM remind us that some machines are more than just cars. They're stories written in steel, fire, and victory. And that's why this journey doesn't stop here. If you want to keep exploring the greatest classic cars ever built, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications bell, and join our growing community of true enthusiasts. Don't forget to like this video and share it with other car lovers who live and breathe Ferrari history. But most importantly, I want to hear from you. What do you think about the Ferrari 250 LM? And which classic car should we dive into next? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because your idea might inspire our very next episode. This channel is built for those who believe that cars are more than machines, they're legends, and the best legends are always worth revisiting.